Mikhail Nestorov's The Great Taking of the Veil, completed in the late 1890s, captures an episode from the history of Russian Old Believers, a group characterized by their unique standing in the country's legal history. The Old Believers movement arose in response to Patriarch Nikon's liturgical reforms in the 1650s. The group maintained core Orthodox theology while adhering to pre-reform rituals. One such tradition, the two-fingered sign of the cross, is absent from the painting due to the period's legal prohibitions. As the state endorsed Nikon's religious reforms, the Old Believers' opposition to its authority became inevitable. In particular, they refused to offer prayers for the Tsar, an act the authorities interpreted as malevolence against both society and faith. Consequently, the Old Believers were denied civil rights and personal freedoms. However, the oppression of the Old Believers came to an end during Peter the Great's reign. Although granted the right to establish self-governing settlements, they had to pay a higher poll tax. In 1762, Catherine II's manifesto officially recognized the Old Believer faith, and by 1764 they were granted the right to enter the merchant class. Although the state in the 19th century implemented both more rigorous constraints and certain rights for Old Believers, it continued to perceive the sect as a social danger. In 1883, imperial approval was given to a state council prognosis on the granting of certain civil rights to schismatics and sacred rites. This permitted the Old Believers to pursue various professions and enter public service. Despite these advancements in civil status, their religious freedoms remained more restricted than those of members of the dominant church. As for the subject of the artwork, the initiation ritual of the Great Schema, both the ceremony and the clothing differed from standard ecclesiastical practices. For instance, the skete's abbess is shown in a kaptir, a headdress typically absent from vestments of the Russian Orthodox Church at the time. It was only during the 20th century, following the legal re-establishment of the Patriarchate in Russia, that the kaptir, or white klobuk, was adopted by the Russian Orthodox Patriarch. Furthermore, unlike in the dominant church, becoming an Old Believer monk didn't legally alter one's social standing or confer specific canonical rights.